Welcome everybody to the pitching session Digital Health MedTech. My name is Victoria Pavlova and I will be the moderator of this session. We are recording the session, so if anyone doesn't agree with being recorded, please indicate so in the chat and I will post the recording during your presentation. Now we will continue with some experts introductions. So I would like to invite Wonder from Swiss Post Ventures to introduce himself.
Hello, thank you very much for the introduction. So Önder Boyman from Swiss Post Ventures, and we look into scalable, fast-growing businesses in logistics, supply chain, mobility, or anything which has to do with sensitive data. So thus, obviously also digital health. I've been myself a digital health entrepreneur for 7 years, and pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you for your introduction. Next, I would like to invite Roop from Mazart. We don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Roop Chandwani from Mazards. We're an advisory and executive recruitment firm that helps companies scale for growth with their people by bringing in the international validation that companies need. And I've also started 4 companies, all of which will be going to fundraise next year, and they might be here in this next year. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your introduction. Now I would like to invite Peter from R3I Ventures.
Hello, everyone. Peter from Singapore. R3I Ventures is a venture capital firm, and I'm a venture partner in it. And we focus on medtech, deep tech, anything that has to do with technology. We have incubators in Luxembourg and Singapore. Also have a large team in Silicon Valley, and good luck to everyone.
Thank you for your introduction. Next, I would like to invite Alexander from Starfinder Capital Fund. Maybe you need to unmute yourself. Okay, I'll get back to you at the end. So next, I would like to invite Cedric from eForum Innovation Fund.
Thanks, Victoria. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cedric Oje, investment analyst at eForum Innovation Fund. We are the strategic arm of the eForum Group. It's a drug development company based in Lausanne, Switzerland. We invest in digital health solutions with a focus in oncology and infectious disease. And we are Series A investors investing in Europe, US, and also Israel. And at the moment, I'm looking at companies in the DTX field, digital biomarkers, continuous monitoring, and so on. I'm looking forward to the call.
Thank you very much, Cedric. Now I would like to invite Kateo from TVN Capital to introduce himself. You're on mute.
Yeah, right. So hi, everyone. This is Catello from TVM. I'm the associate based in Milan. TVM is 40 years old fund, investing in both digital and medtech in companies ready for the commercial rollout. We have a global footprint, and also we are agnostic in terms of geography and modality. So nice meeting you all. Looking for this meeting.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite to the floor Francesca from Almirall. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Francesca Watke. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Almirall. We're focused on finding digital solutions, including digital therapeutics for patients suffering from severe medical dermatological conditions. Prior to this role, I was leading European investments for Merck's Global Health Innovation Fund, with a focus on digital solutions for software-enabled clinical trial management, as well as some data-enabled approaches. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for your introduction. And once again, I would like to go back to Alexander from Starfinder. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself. Okay. Thank you to all the experts who joined us today. Now I would like to kindly remind you again about the format of the session. Each company has 5 minutes to pitch, 4 minutes for question and answers, and 1 minute evaluation by the experts and investors here in the room. I will share the link to the evaluation form once we start with the first presenter. So now I would like to invite to the stage Jose from HopeCare, who is our first presenter for today.
Hello, thank you. I will share my screen. Okay. I think now you are seeing?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so I can start. Okay, so thank you. My name is Jose. I'm a HopeCare founder. So in 2003, my mother was diagnosed with ALS. So she wants to live independently. She don't want to be institutionalized. So in that time, I built a platform that can in an easy way, make a communication tool between my mother and the hospital, and at the same time to send the data to the hospital. The most important finding in the end was that she could live independently at home for more than 4 years than the doctor expected, and she never was institutionalized. So I took that idea, and in 2012, I built a company called HopeCare and started developing my platform that we call AC Alert with 3 main goals. That was first, to build a mobile application that can connect to different kind of manufacturers of medical device. Second, take that data in a centralized way to triage that information. And third, to have a clinical platform that can look that information and allow the doctors to make a better advice. So we apply these to hospitals. In first one was a COPD patient. For 6 years, we monitor COPD patients. So we could reduce in 50% hospital readmission and 30% emergency rooms. Then we went to heart failure, and we have the same impact, but here we can start predicting that that patient could have an exacerbation. So they could reduce in that time the number of days hospitalization, but also in 85% of the emergency episodes. And with that, we could leverage the survival rate. So we apply also in community patients with other hospitals, and the impact, it's similar. We studied this with the Portuguese NHS, and when we looked at heart failure and COPD, we could reduce the cost. So it means that it's feasible for the hospital to invest in our technology and at the same time have a ROI on that. So we look to the panorama in the hospital readmissions in the EU, and we can see that Portugal have a good performance. And if we go to other countries like Germany and so on, the readmission level is quite high. So we can have an impact on that. So for us, it's quite simple. The flow by user is to download the mobile application, connect with different kind of medical devices. It can have a personalized feedback by our algorithms. And the doctors on the other side, in fact, have this information and can make a better decision. So our position as a company is to be a tech enabler and not the healthcare provider. So we allow hospitals to have a better performance on their process. Today, in fact, we have 9 hospitals in our system, and next year we already have 3 projects, COVID and Santa Casa, and 1 project in Switzerland that is already closed, and we are starting there. And we are growing, conquering hospital by hospital, and in focusing on COPD and heart failure patients. Our goal is to go to the DACH region because we already are in Austria, also starting a POC. In Switzerland, we already are there, and then we go to Germany because the reimbursement process is set. The Benelux also is quite important because we already tested the Belgian market, and we have a feeling that also the reimbursement process is coming. So we know that the region will go also in the right direction. We are seeking for 2 million euros as investment, focusing on sales and marketing side, and also in research. Calling in research because our differentiator factor is that we are, of course, in connected side, we are very mature, but we already are validating the algorithms for predicting. For instance, COPD, we already have a grant from P2020, where we are analyzing all life data, because it's not only tracking vital signs, but also to see everything from the patient in behavior side, where we can, in fact, predict and personalize the decision from medical doctors. So the benefit, in fact, is we can give with mobile application access to everyone, And we can, because we proved that to improve the quality of life, have a eco sustainability because it's less consumption resource, less transportation to hospitals. And of course, we have a responsibility with communities, with our system. So we have 9 team members. We collaborate with a lot of institutes on research. And mainly we have a research department, we have management, compliance and regulatory affairs, and of course, IT. Thank you. And now I am open to your questions.
Thank you very much, Jose, for your presentation. Now I open the floor for questions. I see that Wender already has one. So go ahead.
Thank you very much. So, Jose, pleasure meeting you. Just a question: why did you take 2 different topics like COPD and congestive heart failure? It's like one is with the lung, the other one is with the heart. So, what is the connection with those, and where do you see your continuing path? Do you want to focus more on heart-related topics, or you want to stay on the lung? Just to understand it a little bit better.
Well, when we start looking to chronic patients, multi-chronic. But in fact, the first project we had was in COPD. We monitored 6 years COPD patients, so we have a lot of data there, and we started developing the algorithms, predictive algorithms there. The second is about heart failure, because we monitor already for 4 years heart failure patients. So that is the second one. The third one that we are already in place is diabetes. For instance, today we are tracking 700 diabetic patients also with hospital, and at the same time, it will be the next level. So we are a generic, in fact, to connect, because we can look to the chronic patients in a full, but we are specializing our process with hospitals and each department in that particular patients. And then we study the impact, because for us, it's quite important to understand if there's an impact for patient side as a clinical outcome, but at the same time, the costs. In Portugal, the government, and we work with the government, and we study the cost perspective. So it's quite important to understand if it's valuable to invest on that particular pathology. That's why we start as a generic, but in fact, we are going in a specific path in different kind of pathologies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to ask the next question? You can directly unmute yourself and ask Jose.
What is the connection to Switzerland? Why did you come from Portugal to Switzerland?
Well, in these years, we will make 10 years. We have different POCs in Belgium, France, Germany, Spain. And suddenly we land in Switzerland, because Switzerland have a mixed system, like US in payer perspective, right? It's insurance that are paying. And the second is that you have domiciliary care companies that take the patient from hospital, taking care of at home with the nurses and doctors. And we are working with these companies to understand the fit of our process and how the reimbursement from insurance side can be fit. So that is the POC that we are doing. We are involved working with these companies, and we are talking and dialoguing with the hospital also. There's a new hospital there, right? And I think that is the market most similar to US for next venture, let me say.
Perhaps an add-on question on that, having a look at companies like ADA or Babylon Health, how do you think to compete against those? So you said, okay, chronic diseases, of course, they're coming from a general practitioner perspective. So where do you see and how do you want to compete against those?
Well, in 2 ways. The first one is about medical certification, because we are talking class 2B. So that is my first, that we want to enter in reimbursement process like in Germany, and Belgium already is setting up. So that is the first one. So we want to be focused on hospital side, not in generic patients in insurance side. So it's a different topic. Secondly, we want to go, that's why the research for us is quite important, because we have data. We understand that, for instance, with COPD, we can in 10 days in advance know that patients go to the hospital. So we can improve the care, and that is so valuable that we want to go in that direction. We see that also in heart failure. So let me say, the investment we are seeking, of course, is to develop and implement what we have with hospitals, but in second hand is to improve the algorithms in order that we can have a IP in that area, and always validating in a clinical perspective. So that is what we want to, let me say, swift and not compete directly with that companies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose, for participating. We are now out of time for questions, so I would like to proceed with our next presenter, who is Josip.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Who is Josip from Chile. Josip, you're welcome to start sharing your presentation.
Hi everyone. Thanks. I'll just be a second.
Sure.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
All right, so thank you for having me. Josip here. I'm one of the two co-founders of Healy. Okay, so with Healy, we enable healthcare organizations, help their providers and patients with better virtual experiences. We are building the most comprehensive and customizable telehealth platform that can cover the unique needs of both parties, of both providers and patients. There is a huge problem with telehealth adoption, and we see a huge opportunity in solving this problem adequately. Over the last year and a half since COVID hit, especially healthcare organizations have had to kind of hastily adopt generic, temporary, often disconnected solutions that are not customizable enough or customizable at all to cover the exact needs of each and every healthcare organization and, of course, their patients. So to solve this problem, we've built a unique concept that allows our customers to get a ready-made, completely standalone, custom branded and personalizable virtual care platform from us, instead of trying to create or piece together their own platform. So it's like a telehealth platform in a box that we give them. We are unique for our depth of customization, the levels to which we can go to change, tweak the process, give them new features, which is unique in this space. The comprehensiveness, the feature richness of the core platform that we're using as a template, the speed and cost efficiency of our delivery, and last but not least, the superior user experience that's validated by literally hundreds of thousands of patients and clinicians that are using our core platform. And to further break away from competition, we're working on a unique concept that we call digital health protocols to allow clients to build digital health pathways, therapeutic pathways, and digitalize them without the need of our involvement. Our first white label customer was Percy Health, a UK-based cancer care startup. When they came to us, they had the classic build or buy dilemma, and they chose us at the end instead of developing a platform from scratch, which resulted in much lower initial and recurring costs for them, and also dramatically less time to market. An interesting fact is that they went live in 3 months after they came to us, and in 2 months later, they managed to raise a seed round of close to £2 million entirely on our tech backbone. They literally had zero tech when they came to us. We estimate the size of our addressable market to be around €5 billion, and the validation so far has been quite strong from all prospect types that we have included in the calculation. But over the next 1 or 2 years, we're going to focus primarily on the digital health companies type, because there we see the best sales cycles and the lowest hanging fruit. And this is our competition. We believe that the market is severely underserved when it comes to truly customizable telehealth platform as a service solutions. And thanks to our technological superiority, mainly, we can become a market leader. Our business model contains a setup fee that we charge one time, a subscription that is a recurring component based on the number of providers, a customization, hourly customization development fee, and of course, subscription fee based on the number of new features that that people decide to use. We built, we have 6 customers so far and 2 soon-to-be customers, including all types of prospects. We build traction by a combination of referrals and networking. We have also strong inbound traffic, both organic and paid, and we are using the services of an outsourced SDR that help us with the outbound part of it. We have telehealth, appointment scheduling, AI for patient triage and decision support. We have medical intake forms, remote patient monitoring, and digital health protocols. These are the main functionality areas. The capital we're raising will help us get more sales and boost revenue by 400% next year and 100% in the following years. We're a small team, but all the people behind Healy have vast experience, with some of them having successfully exited IT and digital healthcare projects before. That's our advisory board, and we're looking to raise a seed round of 3 million euro, with 1 million already committed by a local VC fund and current investors. And the funds will mainly go to sales, marketing, and business development.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for your presentation. Now I open the floor for questions, and I see that Francesca already has one.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. So a couple of questions. You put as your list of competitors, you know, some of the telehealth platforms, but some of the major players I saw were missing. First question is, why do you not consider the kind of Teladocs of the world your competition? And then the second question is, in terms of your TAM, the total addressable market, it's quite high, but what part of that do you expect to carve out with Healy?
Yeah, thanks. On the first question, actually the Teladocs and the Amwells of the world, they have quite a different model where they offer you the platform. You know, being the healthcare provider, can join and just use the platform as it is. Oftentimes, not oftentimes, always, it is not customizable. And the digital health companies, for example, that we are seeing very good traction with, have very niche workflows, very specific patient journeys. And Teladoc, for example, would not even pay attention, you know, to requests like, can we, you know, rearrange the steps of this workflow, because we are active in, for example, cancer care, and we have some specific things that we want to cover. Or Amwell does have some customization capabilities, but the cost there is literally prohibitive, not to mention, you know, the turnaround. Just to illustrate, we can get up and running such a replica, that's how we call it, for a customer in a couple of days, not even. And think of that as something that to an external observer looks like a platform that is developed internally. I mean, no mention of our brand. Of course, not only the branding can be customized, but more importantly, the features, the workflows. Our platform is built in such a way that it's like Lego blocks, and we can literally rearrange the steps super easily so that it kind of matches very, very different and diverse patient journeys, provider workflows. So yeah, in this regard, it is the best of our knowledge that the only company that is kind of doing that is this company called Wheel in the US. They offer a combination of technology that's customizable plus a provider network for hire. That's actually their bread and butter. They added we are powering your telehealth platform later. So yeah.
Thank you. We have time for one very quick question. if anyone can. Okay, I'm there. The floor is yours.
So also from my side, just a short question. So I see that you have a complete solution which you can offer to these kind of companies which want to offer telemedical services. So how do you see your competition from open source or other ready-made web RTCs? Like there is many kind of open source web RTCs, scheduling appointment tools. Where do you see which customers will use those and which will use your solution? So where do you see the cutoff?
So yeah, that's a good question. We have our own built-in WebRTC component, but it's just, I don't know, the video component is maybe 5% of that. We are a telehealth platform. I mean, we're not just, a video enabler who is kind of HIPAA compliant. The same goes to the appointment scheduling component. It's like a built-in ZocDoc. And, yeah, there are WebRTC providers. There are, on the other hand, companies that have calendars and booking options. Oftentimes, there are two separate solutions. And, this is, again, just 10% of all that. We have tools that cater to the needs of different specialties. We have different patient journeys enabled within the platform that you can start customizing. I mean, we are a telehealth platform. We are not just a generic video provider. Basically, the best thing is that the white label is based on our own telehealth platform that we are running that has enables more than 5,000 providers. 1 million patients already are using that. So all I'm saying is it's battle tested, and whatever you have in the Haley core platform, you can have in a white label platform and beyond, completely custom branded, hosted under whatever.com. So it's like a complete solution rather than pieces of the functionality. And basically that's what we're seeing. Most of the potential customers have ended up with, a solution for that, another solution for this, kind of combined, integrated with their internal EMR, but not quite. And that's where we see a sweet spot, really.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for your participation. We're out of time for questions, but I would like to kindly remind you about our one-to-one meetings. You can schedule them for today or for tomorrow. So yeah, you can do that via the TechTalk community platform. Now I would like to invite our next presenter. This is Emiliano from Cornea.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Emiliano. I'll just overshare and I will stop sharing now so you can start sharing your presentation.
Yeah. You should be able to see now my full screen.
Yes, the floor is yours.
Sight is the most important sense for human beings. Today, I would like to talk to you about a progressive eye disease called keratoconus. This is an example of how these patients see the world right now. We have 218 million eyes worldwide affected by this disease, with a prevalence much higher in Middle East and Asian countries compared to Europe and the US. And just in terms of prevalence, we have 1.8 million new eyes to be treated at the worldwide level annually, specifically in the stage 2 to 4, which is our target group of patients suffering from keratoconus. The mechanism behind the disease is a double mechanism of weakening of the collagen fibers and thinning of the cornea itself, which is leading to protrusion of the central part of the eye and to a very poor quality of vision. What is currently available for these patients is a combination of two surgical techniques, the cross-linking and the intracorneal ring segments. The first is a pharmacological treatment effective in limiting the progression of the disease, but has no effects at all in improving vision. On the other side, the intracorneal ring segments were initially developed for patients with myopia and adapted just as a secondary use for patients with keratoconus. And this results in being non-effective in at least 50% of the keratoconus cases, mainly due to the unpredictability of the visual outcomes of the intracorneal ring segments. At Tricornia, we want patients with keratoconus to recover vision completely and to see the world nicely again. we have developed the first ever nitinol-based corneal implant to treat keratoconus, the Grosso implant, where the uniqueness of the device is in the curvature, similar to the physiological curvature of the eye, and imposed to the corneal tissues after the implantation for a predictable, complete, and precise remodeling of the entire cornea, as opposed to what is currently happening with the competitor device, the intracorneal segments, applied peripherally in the cornea with no action in the central part of the eye, where actually the problem is located. We have also developed a minimally invasive surgery, so we are combining a minimally invasive device with a minimally invasive surgery. Device that is fully developed with contract manufacturer certified 13485. In terms of patent, the Italian patent is granted and is extended already in the 8 geographies that you see listed in the slide, from US up to Japan. Looking at the market of keratoconus, we are targeting specifically patients at stage 3 and 4 that are already counting for 47% of the total market, and they are the most severe cases of keratoconus. We are then going to expand and reach also patients at stage 2. We have a total addressable market of 1.1 billion euros on an annual level, so just based on incidence, and we are targeting to get 18% market share by year 5. On the upstream, we have leading companies as manufacturers, all of them certified 13485, covering the entire value chain. On the downstream, we have LOI signed with ophthalmic companies and distributors of ophthalmic products for a final selling price 600 to 1,000 euros per device to hospitals and clinics. Being a medtech company, this is our roadmap. Currently, we are in the preclinical phase, and the milestones in the next 18 months are to end the preclinical trials and the first pilot clinical trial on the 12 patients, with the 2 hospitals already partnering with us in the 1.6 million euro grant we got from the European Commission as a fast-track innovation grant. On the top of the grant, we are currently fundraising for 1.2 million euros to bring us up to the end of the pilot clinical trial. I'm Emiliano, the CEO of Recornea. I have a background in biomedical engineering and experience in both product development and business development in Europe, Japan, and Singapore. Recornea is my 3rd startup. The first 2 ones we exited through a pure IP business model, so IP licensing agreements. Moses, the CSO, has a background in biochemistry and more than 10 years of experience in running clinical trials for both biopharmaceuticals and medical devices. Arcadio and Thomas are complementing the team on the regulatory and the manufacturing. We have already raised 2 pre-seed rounds from Entrepreneur First from Singapore and G-Factor from Italy. Come and join us in our journey in preventing corneal blindness through innovation. Thank you, and we are open for your questions.
Thank you very much, Emiliano, for your presentation. I open the floor for questions. I see that Kateo is unmuted. Maybe he has a question. If you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
So I have a question. I haven't seen you having anywhere FDA approval. I see CE mark in 2024. I mean, how can you sell it before you're certified?
So actually, we are not going to sell, of course, before we are certified. So the plan is basically to end the pilot clinical trial in the 2nd quarter of 2023. We are then going to run a pivotal clinical trial in between Europe and US to get the necessary, documentation and data to get the CE mark at the end of the pivotal clinical trial. Being in between Europe and US, we are structuring, we are already working, in that direction to structure the pivotal clinical trial to get also relevant data for the FDA. Moses, if you want to add something about this, I just want to add.
As you've indicated, we are a preclinical stage company. So we are finalizing the biocompatibility testing and the animal study. So we hope to start the first in-human clinical trials in the second quarter of next year. Then, as Emiliano said, we shall move on to the pivotal clinical trial and apply for the CE mark to first commercialize in Europe before we move on to other markets. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question, if you don't mind. You're looking at a multinational pivotal trial, and instinctively, it seems that the budgets that you're trying to raise, the money that you're trying to raise, isn't going to go very far. Having worked with a lot of companies in this, particularly in this area, can you explain your thinking around how you plan that? Because instinctively, it seems way under budget.
So from our plan is to first run a first-in-human clinical trial on a very few number of patients, and that is going to be conducted in Europe, in France and Spain. And the grant we are working on right now will pay for this trial, because since the patients are very few, to check safety. So for when we get these results, we shall move on to the pivotal clinical trial, where we are intending to raise another 3 million euro, as Emiliano has indicated here. So other current predictions of the pivotal clinical trial, we hope that 3 million euro will be able to facilitate this. But we are still defining the pivotal clinical trial, and we are working with consultants, CROs, to define this. So the price might increase when we finally come up with a final plan. But for the first in-human pilot, for it is fully covered.
I hear what you say, but something instinctively doesn't feel right about those budgets. Okay, so but you've been through the planning process, so all right, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. You have also a question from Katel. He asks, could you please elaborate a bit more on competition?
Sure. So in terms of competition, basically, we are specifically, competing with the intracoronary segments, which are these independent pieces, semi-arcs, polymeric materials, independent pieces of PMA, which are implanted peripherally. So these devices have a number of limitations. The main one is about the unpredictability of the visual outcomes, since they are not redesigning, remodeling the entire cornea. So is the main pain point from where all the journey of Recornia started was really to develop something that was easy to use and predictable in terms of visual outcomes. So they are our direct competition, as they are supposed to help in improving vision, which is actually not happening. So that is our direct competitor. We are also mentioning cross-linking in the sense that cross-linking is a pharmacological treatment using riboflavin basically to improve the stiffness of the cornea. So the main goal is to increase the stiffness and so to limit the progression of the disease, but has no effects in terms of remodeling the eye. So we see the Grosso implant potentially as complementary, okay, with the cross-linking treatment. Glasses and contact lenses are not actually an option and not a competitor, because are just used in the very early stages of keratoconus.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation to Emiliano and Moses.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And feel free to reach out to us by email.
And also one-to-one meetings, which you can schedule through our platform. So now I would like to invite our next presenter. This is Yaroslav from GG.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to be here today. I'm sorry I caught some kind of virus. I hope that's not the virus, but I could be slower than usual today, so I'm sorry in advance. Yep, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can make it full screen. Wonderful. The floor is yours.
Thanks.
So my name is Jaroslav Lichachevsky, and we are DeepD, a Dutch AI company working specifically in ophthalmological field in retinal diseases and screening. We're meeting various problems, but today I want to talk more about the diabetes and its complication, diabetic retinopathy. So diabetes is one of the major chronic diseases in the world, and diabetic retinopathy is one of the 3 major diabetes complications. One on 5 diabetic patients suffers from diabetic retinopathy, and in 25 years of diabetes, every diabetic patient sooner or later meets it. It's a severe condition that leads to blindness, and that's why healthcare systems all around the world fighting it. And the best way to fight it is doing screening, because with the early detection, you can prevent low vision or blindness in 80% of cases. At the moment, of course, it's done manually by human specialists. It's covered by GPs and ophthalmologists, and it's costly and time-consuming, and that's the routine that most of the specialists hate to do, because it's just boring and not paid that well. So we decided that the healthcare should be transformed in a way, and we could bring a new solution to it to help and empower medical specialists to deal with this condition. And that's an AI computer vision platform that processes retinal images automatically and helps doctors and ophthalmologists and opticians to make a decision on the patient diagnosis. We, of course, need to build it as easy to use as possible to make their life easier, not harder. So the market is huge. We're currently focused on the US market, and it's almost 35 million diabetics, and its number is about to double in the next 20 years. And it gives 3 billion market of eye screening for diabetes patients only. We're well aware of our competitors. There are a number of them, not much yet, but that's kind of obvious problem, and a number of companies working on it. And pretty all of them are on the early stage. And the market is, it's very blue at the moment. 2 major competitors in the US covering together like 45 hospitals out of 6,000. So it's a long way to go to get this market, and that we see it as a good opportunity for us. So where are we now? As we're a Dutch-based company, we're working with the Dutch hospitals on co-developing and validation of a solution and business model. We have some trials in Poland. We are CE-marked class 1, and we have our first client in the US, working with 200 hospitals there to validate our business model and start rolling out on the US market. We have quite good team. It's Belarusian Dutch. We have medical and engineering team mostly, with few business people on board, and that's why we are raising at the moment to expand business team and empower our sales and marketing. So we are still spending quite a lot for R&D, because we are developing next products like glaucoma and age-related macular degeneration. But it's the right time for us to put more in sales and marketing. We have some recognition at the moment. So we've been we've got some awards. Yeah. I guess that's time for me. Here's my contact details, and I'm very glad to open you to answer your questions.
Many thanks, Yaroslav, for your presentation. I open the floor for questions. Who would like to ask the first one? I see Cedric is raising hand.
Yes, thanks, Yaroslav. Maybe one question about your long-term vision. What is it actually? Because you start from detection. Do you plan to stick in the detection area, or do you plan also to predict in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question, I'm afraid. 5 minutes won't be enough for the big vision. Yeah, of course, we are moving into prediction. Our goal is to cover ophthalmological diseases first, and then we have an opportunity to detect cardiovascular and neurological conditions using the same retinal images. So we're planning to go wide in terms of conditions, and at the same time as we're collecting more data from market, we are planning to start building predictive algorithms in order to predict conditions, but not cure them. And we have plans at a certain point to switch from medical infrastructure onto mobile devices, and that will allow us to get even more data and constant monitoring of patients, which will enable us a lot to build predictive algorithms.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to ask the next question? Okay, last call for questions. If anyone of the experts would like to ask a question, now it's the time. Okay, thank you very much, Yaroslav, for your presentation and for being here. Now I would like to invite our next presenter. This is Ivan from SurgiQ.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I suppose you can see my screen. Yeah. And now in presenting mode.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm Ivan Porro, co-founder at SurgiQ. I'm bioengineer by training, but now dealing mostly with the business development and pitching stuff. We are a digital health company based in Italy, supported by the National Investment Fund, CDP, and we help hospitals make health plan care simpler. The problem we tackle is pretty common and pretty in front of everyone who look at the hospital in the past month. So it's a problem for hospital to plan resources properly and in advance. The reason behind that is that they still do overbooking, resulting in typically in underutilization of the resources. There are cumbersome systems to plan healthcare. Most of hospitals still use Excel file when not paper, and very experienced people. And this is what we do. We take this knowledge from very experienced people and from existing organizational model, and we translate that into AI planning solution. So we get the constraints, we get the preferences, we get the day-by-day needs from the clients, their inputs, or they collect data from existing systems, and our AI provide the best possible solution, which is important. This is done day by day because the solution may change. One day you have some people, the day after some people are sick or are on leave. So you need to adapt your organization on a daily basis. And this is why our technology is so flexible and helped us scale up to more than 12 hospitals from 6 in the last 9 months. We are a revenue generating company. We did direct sales up to this year, and we are now signing, thanks to our traction, a number of agreements with distributors and potential partners. As I said, companies revenue generating, more than half of our revenues are currently recurring, and we will close 2021 with the 200K revenues, and we already have 160K order in place for the next year to date. Thanks to the Series A round, we will also develop an API to provide our system in an easier way to our partners. Why? Because we compete with companies which are mostly in the United States at the moment, and the traditional vendor which are present in the local and European markets do provide mild to known artificial intelligence solution. So if you are a typical vendor and want to win a bid, then you incorporate our technology to win that bid. And this is our existing strategy for the future and proven to be successful. Furthermore, we discovered that this technology may be useful to people like medical device manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies, and companies providing managed services to hospital, because they provide equipment, they provide consumable, and so something which increase capacity and can improve the capability to forecast capacity is something crucial to their business. And this will result to us in the 70% of our revenues in 4 years from now, 5 years from now, and in a great recurring components in our revenues. This is not just fluff, this is in place. We already have an agreement with Daedalus, which is the major vendor in EU at the moment, and we signed a distribution agreement in beginning November, and there are already 2 bids out to date. We are integrating with GE Healthcare in the Edison program, and we will have a demo by January 2022. And we already have an agreement in place with Janssen, pharmaceutical company, who is paying pilots to run our technology in infusion room and in other very specific niches. And as I said, there are manufacturer of medical devices and other kind of partners with a potential global reach in terms of distribution and market scale up, which we are already talking with. The team is in place on every key feature and function, ranging from business to sales to production, and we will going to reinforce, especially on marketing and sales, in order to get seniorship in the European region and the capabilities in terms of fostering the distribution channels that we are going to build and that we already have in place. From a product and support perspective, we are going to reinforce customer support and of course the AI component, as we are going to deliver more and more tools to our distributors. We did what we did with about 1.1 million, and we are now going to raise 2.5 million, of which 20% is already committed by existing investors. The goal is to run through the next 24 months, spend a lot in selling and supporting clients, and get a number of pilots in key countries. The larger one will be Germany, but we already have an agreement with incubators supporting us in Netherlands and Portugal. These are small countries, but really crucial because Netherlands is a really innovative countries and Portugal is a beachhead market to Brazil. German, of course, is a large market, plus it provides a different, reimbursement model than Italy.
Thank you. You're out of time.
That's all. These are the kind of investors we're looking for.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for your presentation. Now I open the floor for questions.
Can you talk more about your business model?
Yes, the business model is currently licensing plus subscription with an option for a subscription only, which accounts for the license as well. This is basically done in order to fit with the requirements from our distributors and from the direct sales we did so far. With the round, we will also deliver the API. We are already in discussion with people interested in using the API on a pay-per-use model. So this will enable scalability. but we needed to build a bit of monetization framework around and infrastructure around the existing AI in order to sell it as a pay-per-use.
So what kind of things you have in place for defensibility? So do you have a patents or line of codes or using generic AI? What is it that you do to prevent others doing the same thing?
Okay, we spent the past 4 years doing R&D and developments on this technology. While we use a technology which is a commodity, we developed a unique capability which is now patented to bring this technology to the healthcare field. The problem is that it's not machine learning; it's a technology called knowledge-based reasoning. So it's constraint-based scheduling, which is typically works very good in the logistics and in the industry and other industries. But when you bring it to healthcare, you have to face a number of last-minute and unprecedented issues. So, for example, we do the scheduling, but we also have a rescheduling algorithm which allow to fill a hole which is created last minute because surgery cancellation. So that's the kind of capability we have, and we have been able to bring. We only had the surgery in 2020. Now we have 4 different domain applications. So the technology is quite flexible and it scales well. This is a client which used the technology, started using this year, and by September they were at 4 hospitals and more than 12,000 access per month.
Thank you. We have time for one very quick question. So if any of the experts would like to ask. Okay, thank you very much, Ivan, for your participation.
Okay, thank you. I will stop sharing my screen now.
Great, thank you. Now I would like to invite our next presenter. This is Gregory from Nanovation GS.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Perfect, and now you can probably see my screen.
Yes, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gregory Schuster. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Nanovation. Nanovation is a medical device company specializing in respiratory monitoring. We were established in 2014 as a spin-off from the Technion, the Israeli Institute of Technology, and we're basing ourselves on unique nanosensor technology that we licensed from the Technion. Our mission is to reduce the medical and financial burdens and to improve the safety, quality of care, and the life expectancy in respiratory patients. We're located in Israel, in Haifa, where we have R&D and manufacturing facilities with a team of 20 people. We have 2 patents. Our first generation of the device is already CE mark approved as a Class 2B medical device. We're also ISO certified. We've raised 8 million euros up to date, including 3.5 million from non-diluting public funding, such as the Horizon 2020 and the Israeli Innovation Commission Authority. Current activity is also partially funded by the Horizon 2020 grant, and we're grateful and honored by that. We have a diversified and well-balanced team of professionals in the fields of nano engineering, clinical, business development, and so forth. And we are supported by key opinion leaders and advisors. We focus on the problem of COPD, the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is a group of lung conditions that cause breathing difficulties. There are 50 million COPD patients in the United States and Europe. They generate 3 million annual hospital admissions. These costs 28 billion euros each year. And one of the drivers is the high readmission rates, with 22% readmitting within first months and 50% readmitting within 6 months from discharge. Those hospitalizations are caused by unnoticed exacerbations that become acute and require hospital admission. Admissions are relatively long and become frequent. And the first 30 days, readmissions are not covered by insurers and are paid for by the hospitals. One of the reasons and the drivers of this condition situation is the fact that there are no effective solutions to monitor COPD patients. We are developing and suggesting that SenseGuard as the first wearable multi-parameter lung function monitor for COPD patients. It's a wireless, wearable, non-invasive solution. It is intended to be used in hospitals and in home settings. It consists of 2 parts, the hardware unit and the consumable sensor part. The intended use is usually spot checks of a couple of minutes of measurement, or could be extended to longer measurements. The idea, the concept is that the patient is wearing this device for a few minutes. This is breathing regularly, tidal breathing, and the device is collecting his breathing and analyzes it to calculate respiratory parameters. Some of them are known, such as the respiratory rate, inhalation exhalation ratio, or the DUCT cycle, and some of these parameters are new and novel and proprietary to Nanovation. Eventually, this transfers to alerts and reports that are being viewed by the medical care professionals in case significant changes occur. The current technologies do not provide the ability to monitor patients not in the hospital nor at home. The first two groups shown here provide tidal breathing monitoring, but extract only respiratory rate, which is not sufficient for analysis of COPD condition. When looking at lung function tests, these are indeed providing the relevant information, but not applicable for home or at hospital monitoring, as these are very complicated and unpleasant breathing maneuvers that require patient cooperation and also a professional near the patient. SenseGuard and the Navigation's product is the only solution that combines ability to monitor tidal breathing and to extract lung function from it. The value proposition is broken down to financial and patient experience. Financially speaking, we are creating value for hospitals by reducing patient lengths of stay and short-term readmissions, and for the insurers, we reduce overall admissions. For the patient, we're improving the safety, quality of life, reduce the number of days spent in the hospital, and quality of care. The market potential is big. I'll just mention another number I have not mentioned. Worldwide, there are over 300 million COPD cases, and this number is growing. Our business model is the razor and razor blade, where the hardware unit will be sold at a low margin profit, driving the costs of disposable sensor units. Our first target market are in Germany, UK, and Netherlands, with first target customers being hospitals who already have outpatient departments that monitor patients. We expect to create significant sales in the third, fourth, and fifth years of sales, reaching 45 million sales revenues in year 46, with EBITDA of 20 million euros. To complete the go-to-market process, we're raising 13.5 million euros, with 7.5 of them already secured, and we're looking for additional 6 million euros in equity investment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for your presentation. Now I open the floor for questions. Does any of the experts has a question?
Yeah, I just instinctively about respiratory monitoring, anyways, an area that I have a strong personal interest in, is there is a lot of competition in the sector, but I must have missed something. I couldn't see what your competitive advantage is over some of the technologies that are coming through right now. Could you just go over that again, please?
Right. So the way we look at the technologies are how they work. So these are, the concepts, technological concepts. There are, for example, many different spirometry devices, but the concept is the same. Well, yeah, I'm focusing now on the technologies that do provide lung function abilities.
So what's your technology? Is the sensor, or is it the algorithm, or
right? So we started based on the sensor that it provided a very high resolution waveform, and now we are already in the field where we also have algorithms, and actually the biomarkers we're able to extract from that waveform are also our later IP.
Thank you. We have time for one more question.
Yeah, I assume those are patented, right?
Yes, we have two, actually, no, 3 patents.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Gregory, for your participation.
Thank you.
And now I would like to invite our last but not least presenter. This is Tim from Radio Botics.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear and see me?
Yes.
It's when you've been waiting for some time, you all get surprised when your name is being called. Oh, no, I'm not sharing it. Sorry. Presenting. Okay, so I'm ready. So hi, everybody. My name is Stine Sorensen. I'm the COO and the co-founder of Radiobotics. And at Radiobotics, we build machine learning algorithms that detect diseases in plain 2D X-rays, meaning that we're focusing on the X-ray modality and MSK pathologies. So just looking into the problem that we see in radiology right now is that there is more than 250 million images of bones and joints being taken every year. Those images are obviously growing year by year. However, the number of qualified clinicians that can actually analyze these images is not growing nearly at the same rate. And we see some quite worrying numbers in terms of that the workforce shortfall will be more by 44% in the UK. We also see that some admin people are actually reporting that they can't live up to the requirements for patient safety. So the one thing you can do is that you can educate more radiologists to actually describe these images, but you can also be thinking a little bit into what can technology do in this space. And that's obviously what we're trying to solve at Radiobotics. Our first algorithm detects osteoarthritis in the knees. It's a fairly similar, fairly small niche, so to say, in terms of the focus, but obviously the volume is relatively high, so it's good for the business case. We are CE marked, MDR certified, and we have FDA clearance as well. So this product is both active in the European and the US market as well. We are obviously aiming to build many more products within the specific focus we have on the X-ray and the MSK area. And if you've seen medical imaging companies, you've probably seen a lot within the MRI, the CT, the ultrasound space, which is extremely crowded. And I mean, we will be at RSNA in a week, and obviously you probably see 120 companies there, whereas 100 of those would be in this space as well. So one product is not going to solve all the problems. It is a full suite of products that we are working on, and we haven't signed them yet, but very soon we will launch some very interesting partnerships trying to actually fast track the development of these algorithms. We will also launch 3 new products at RSNA next week. It's under embargo until then, but obviously it's all about the product development. While we're building these products, we obviously think a lot about how we can bring value to the patients, to the clinicians, to the physicians that is actually trying to put in a pathway for the patient, but also the hospitals and the entire system, healthcare system as a whole. And we our next product that we will have, which is a fracture product, we have evidence showing that we're making the doctor better at what they already do. And that's the kind of value you need to bring to the clinicians. We are from Denmark. We have developed most of what we do in a Danish and Scandinavian context, but we believe that our commercialization has to happen in the UK and in the US, because that's where the initiatives are largest. The willingness to invest is also much bigger, and the adoption rate is also happening. We have 16 pilot agreements with hospitals around Europe, UK, and the US, working with some of the largest university hospitals in the world. Our first client is UTMB, which is a fairly large hospital in Texas, where our algorithm is already running. So we have an ambition about that. We want to go for pilot installations rather than revenue for this year, because we need to have our product in there. And as we launch more products, we scale from the inside, and later you'll see we also is looking towards revenue. Our now my laptop is not changing the slide. There it goes. We expect that we can take up 10% of the MSK AI market by 2025, having ARR of $50 million. We have been doing quite a few things besides also building very good products. It's obviously working with some partnerships. We've been part of Texas Medical Center's accelerator program, which Texas Medical Center is the largest accelerator, or the largest center of hospitals in the world, treating more than 10 million patients a year. That is obviously the one and only place we would like to have our technology installed, which we're working on. We have our first sales. We have quite a few installations, as I mentioned. We've been funded by both the European Commission and the Danish government as well, and we raised $7.2 million. We have quite a few patents pending as well. This is my other co-founders with expertise from the clinical side, the research side, and also the technical development side. But the three of us, or the four of us, can't make it all. It's a team that is the most interesting thing. And just to finish off with, we are looking for raising $6 million. Half of it is already committed. And we are aiming to close that by Q1 next year. It is obviously an equity round we're doing, and the $6 million is supposed to go into our commercial and product development efforts, because those are the two things we will need to prove now. We have most of the clinical evidence, but now we will need to show we can also sell it. So that was all from Radiobotics. This is me on a good day.
Thank you very much, Stine. Now I open the floor for questions. I see that Cedric already unmuted himself. We don't hear you for some reason.
You don't hear me?
Now we hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Stine, for the presentation. Quick question about your expansion plan and maybe about the format of the different images you're using. Do you plan to use like MRI or PET scan images as well?
So we actually have a plan that we will at least 3 years ahead stay within the X-ray modality. There is many reasons for this. It's obviously because that we can see there's a huge amount of problems to be solved in just the X-ray modality area. And we are also seeing that there is not that many solutions out there. So the MRI, CT, it is extremely crowded. And so it's also one of the reasons why we differentiate from that, from some of our competitors. I mean, when I meet with a few, of those innovation leaders from Mayo Clinic and those, it's like, if you come with one more MRI algorithm that can detect cancer, I'm not interested. So really we want to stay in this area. In terms of from a technical perspective, there's also some other things to consider, but we have aimed to stay focused on this modality.
I see. Thank you.
Can you elaborate on your business model?
Yes. So for now, our business model is direct sales to the hospitals, because we will need to get our relationships in place for both introducing the first products we have, to grow those, to get the knowledge and also the insights. The future growth model would be towards partnerships like these PAC system providers like GE Healthcare, Siemens, and those, because those are the ones that can scale, and they're all building these marketplaces that host all of these AI models. So most of our growth would then be in the future be through those with a shared revenue split, where selling direct to the hospitals is a business model around $2 to $6 per scan. To begin with, it's a little bit lower because of the limited problems we are solving, but as our suite of products grows significantly, we can also charge more, because we can also prove how much we're actually improving the doctors, and how much we sort of both saving time, but also in terms of the consistency in the clinic in general.
And what's your exit strategy?
Exit strategy? Well, there is quite a few things happening in the space now, in terms of we've seen Zebra Medical Vision, which was one of the large players in our field, actually being acquired by a larger IT company. So you see the IT space within medical imaging being interesting, and you also see the GE and the Siemens and the Philips. Those are the modality providers. Then you also have sort of the orthopedic implant companies, which are fairly large, which is also looking into especially our field, because we deal with bones and joints. And those are also those are the most advanced in terms of exits. So these are the only companies I have meeting with where M&A is also present in the meetings. So within a 3 to 4 year time, I would envision that would be the sort of most obvious exit strategy. And that would also be the time when we are mature enough and as a founder willing enough to proven enough that this will be interesting.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, one more question. Am I still? No, I'm good. What's your current revenue? Do you have a current revenue?
So the current revenue we have at final of this year is $50,000, which is not much. We have focused on the installations because that is really where we would like to be because of us launching more products. So we are launching 3 more products next week. And so we are hoping that we can kick off 2022 by having substantial more revenue already early in the year. But this year, not very impressive, I would say, but at least we are going to reach the 20 installations. So we're going to use those and drive that into revenue.
How much are you raising? Sorry, I forgot.
No, it's fine. $6 million in total.
And this is Series A?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sim, for your participation, and thank you to all of the companies and experts who joined us today. Now I would like to continue with our closing. Dear participants, that was all for today. We hope our breakout session was interesting and useful for you. All companies will soon receive via email their evaluation results, which are anonymous, and a video recording of your pitch. Now we kindly ask you to complete our feedback survey that you see as a link here in the chat. Thank you, and we would like also to remind you about the one-to-one meetings option starting today at 2 p.m. CET time and continuing tomorrow all day. You still can pre-book your one-to-one meetings via the Technical Community platform. You can also check the video that I shared here in the chat. And thank you very much for joining us, and have a nice day and goodbye.
Can I have a question before we go?
Sure.
Sure. The voting form asked for 8 companies. We only had 7, and
Yes.
it seems to me asking for the 8th one.
Yes, please either put zeros or close it when you proceed to the 8th company. It will automatically save your evaluation until now.
Okay, so I just need to reload or refresh my screen. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much all for joining us
you.
today.
Thank you.
you.
Have a good
Bye.
day. Bye.